Hey everybody, it's Moose here, and today I have a very special interview for you guys. Here I am with Forrestfire101. He is known as a Lego animator online on YouTube, and he's been around for a very long time. He's a very talented guy, and I just can't thank him enough for being on the show, man. So thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, man, it's always fun doing these kind of interviews. I'm super happy to be here. I'm excited to talk Legos and filmmaking and stuff.
All right, great. I'm excited to be talking with you too. So we have some fan questions, and I just thought I'd just run them by you and just see what the fans have to say. So
Sweet. Yeah.
so our first question actually comes from Binks Force. He says, "How do you feel about knowing you inspired so many other animators to do what you do?"
Um, I would say that's the coolest part of the whole experience, really, is like hearing people's stories and hearing people like kind of find their like passion for their career like through my stuff, or at least partially, because I mean I know there's so many other great filmmakers out there too. Like I always tell people, just like like don't don't get too hung up on like the technical side of things. Like just like watch films. Like because a lot of people ask me like, what's your camera? What's your editing software? Like how do you do this stuff? And like the best advice I can do to to that kind of question is like just go out, to Target, buy Blu-rays or rent movies on YouTube or whatever, and just like watch like lots and lots of movies, because you will definitely be inspired. You'll find like kind of your style through what's already been done, and you'll kind of like merge all those styles into like one consistent thing that is like just your thing. So yeah, you should really just make the movie that you want to see in the world, and that's what I try to do. And to see that that's connected with like so many people is just really inspiring and makes me want to do more.
Yeah, like I mentioned, we were having a conversation before uh, before the interview started. Just like I didn't mention, but I go to college for film school, and
Oh,
yeah, so I'm actually I want to be a cinematographer,
that's
and
great.
yeah, so I love filmmaking, and I love everything about it, like from like each technical aspect to like the pre-production, post-production, and production aspect. Just like and like I would say like stop motion animation as a whole, like with your inclusion into my inspiration, with I always just found it so captivating, and like also I really like currently with your stuff now, I love how you shoot things. Like I love how you make it cinematic as you possibly can.
Thank you. That's a serious compliment. Yeah, because I definitely do think about it a lot. There's no like aspect to the production that I don't at least try to put a lot of consideration and thought into.
Yeah, so yeah, I was just I think this is a lot of people that are like really are inspired by what you do, like whether that's just because there's a lot of I talked to like for the past couple of days a lot of Lego animators who when mentioned them, like they mentioned about how you were an inspiration for them to do Lego stuff and buy Legos, and like just so yeah, you've been like big inspiration to a lot of people, and I bet that's really exciting for you, to know that dude like inspired so many people over the years.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I definitely am really like just so grateful that I could do that for people, and people, just there's something that resonates with my brand of humor and my style that like people uh, just want to see. That's just like really fortunate, because I just try to make the videos that like I would want to watch, and I guess my um, kind of what I want to watch is like broad enough to also appeal to a lot of the people too. So I think, yeah, it's just like we're all like kind of in the same boat together. Yeah, and I think a big part of my style is kind of like just like reading a lot of comic books and watching like a lot of like Robot Chicken and Family Guy when I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
So like kind of like merging all that stuff into like what I do, and then that's all popular stuff too. So I think yeah, I definitely try to make videos that other people would want to see and what I would want to see. So I'm just happy that those two things kind of align. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think you've done a great job with that so far. What you've been doing, especially with the comedy route, and how you make. I think your comedy really is on point, and I really like what you do with Batman, with Robin. Like characters like Batgirl, and what you did with the Justice League characters, like Superman, Batman. Not Superman, Wonder Woman. Master Manhunter, Aquaman. Like I do notice you do take a bit of liberty from or inspiration from Robot Chicken or Family Guy. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, like off like South Park and like Matt and Trey are really big influences on me as well.
Mm.
Um, like the Book of Mormon is like one of my favorite things ever.
Mm. Book of
I
Mormon's
really,
really
I
good.
really want to do a musical one day. I used to like sing and I used to do theater when I was younger.
Really,
And
me
yeah, I've
too.
always really liked musicals and
Hmm.
like really like kind of just like big shows and stuff.
Hmm.
So um, I'd like to do that one day. I just don't know anything about like writing music.
Hmm.
I've written a few raps, but I haven't written any like kind of like big, like show-stopping like number. Uh, because like I guess I could. I don't know. Because I know music people. Like I've worked with really talented composers in the past. I just kind of I would have to kind of come up with like an idea for a whole story, and then I'd have to kind of. It's not just like one song. You have to write like 12 songs. If you're doing like a whole like Broadway play.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe not 12, but maybe like I don't know 10. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it depends. But I'd ultimately like to do something like that one day, and not even necessarily put it on Broadway. I mean, that'd be great, but I think I'd also really like to just make like a movie musical, like an original, like La La Land or something. Which I still haven't seen La La Land. Like I tried watching it
Oh, La
once.
La Land's really good. I
Is it
think,
good?
yeah,
I
it
tried
is.
once, and like the opening number just like rubbed me the wrong way or something. But I'm definitely gonna give it another shot because like a lot of people seem to really like it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I just love like Les Mis and like the Book of Mormon, like I said, and I just saw Matilda recently for the first time. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a ton of them. So yeah, I haven't seen Hamilton yet, but I've listened to it. Just stuff like that I think is really inspiring to me as well. I think there's kind of an ebb and flow to everything, like even if it's not necessarily musical like my videos, but the timing, like you said, like the comedy being on point. Like I think a lot of that comes from just like the spacing between the dialogue and like the delivery of the dialogue, like the cadence that's set in and like the way it's said. Um, Pretty much every aspect is just really important, and it all kind of has to coexist within one space. So I just try to kind of use my like natural like instincts as much as possible to like judge like where things should be and how they should be.
Right. Right. Well, I was actually that actually kind of like leads into a question. What I was gonna ask is by Speedster Brick Films. He has a couple questions. His first question is, what inspired you to start making stop motions, and how old were you when you first started making animation?
Um, that's a good question. I think I was 12 when I first got my camera. I got it for Christmas, and my parents bought me this like $100 Walmart like DV camera,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd always wanted a camera. So to me, when I got that, that was the best thing in the entire world. It was like it was funny. It didn't even have like a focus on it. Like you couldn't even focus. I think the focus was just like locked. um, and so you could only shoot things from like far away. You couldn't really get any kind of close-ups of anything. Um, that's why a lot of my original videos, like all the shots, are just from really far away and like really high up because I had this like tripod that was like taller than the set that I had on my desk. So it was everything was like from a high up, far away angle.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of where I started, and that camera evolved into me saving up for other cameras, and then just kind of progressing, learning animation software, that sort of thing. Um, but yeah, I guess I kind of answered the inspiration one. I'm trying to think of like other inspirations. I mean, obviously, like cartoons, like Batman the Animated Series and like Batman Beyond were like huge inspirations for me. The Powerpuff Girls, um, Danny Phantom was a big one for me as well. Um, just kind of like fun, yeah, like kids shows. I think yeah, the animated series is definitely the pinnacle of all that. Though I've just always been like such a huge fan of like Batman and like the lore of Batman and like Gotham and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So you know, I started with the show, then I got more into the comics and all the movies. So I mean, anything that's Batman that comes out, I watch.
Yeah, I'm a big Batman fan. You know, like when I was younger, my mom introduced me to the show with um, introduced me to Batman with the 1966 Batman with Adam West and Burt Ward,
Yeah,
and
right.
you know, I got introduced to Batman through that, and then that's when I started watching Batman the animated series, and that's when I got into the comics and everything, and you know, it's been like a slow progression, but I'm like I think I posted a video today actually showing up because I'm an action figure collector, and I showed off a lot of my Batman action figures. So I have like all these like different figures from like DC collectibles, DC like icons, stuff like that. You know, so like I'm really in like Batman is like a big inspiration. And actually, I'm working on a Batman story currently. Are you familiar with it at all?
Like the Stephen King.
Stephen King, yeah, Stephen King. It,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I'm making a story where it's like Batman versus Pennywise because I always thought that would be such an interesting concept. So that, yeah. So I thought that would be like a. I thought, man, you know, that could be really good if done right, and I thought, you know, I'm just gonna do it. So I've been currently almost done with writing. I'm about halfway there, and you know, I have like cast and everything, and you know, so I just been working on that, and you know, so like Batman, I've always wanted to tell a Batman story, and I recently just got into Stephen King, so I thought, you know, why not mesh the two together.
Right. That's awesome. How are you planning on doing that? Is it going to be action figures or Legos?
It's gonna be action figures. A lot of my stuff I do is with action figures. So I haven't really done. A long time ago, I did stuff with Legos. Um, but I really, when I got older and I started watching reviews of action figures and started seeing more stop motions with action figures, that's when I felt my love for them. And then I started filming a lot with action figures, and so like I just was just like, man, you know, so a lot of it is filmed like with action figures. Like there's a NECA. It's by a company called NECA. They made this Pennywise that looks amazing. It's
Nice.
based on based on the new movie, the 2017 one, and
Right.
yeah. So I just picked that up recently, and so I'm gonna start filming with it, and so that's why I'm filming with. So I don't have I for right now. A lot of my stuff I've been filming on my phone, so I don't have a camera or anything yet. But then my goal is to get start filming. I'm like I started filming stuff with cameras with short films and everything, but I haven't really had a chance to actually film anything with the cameras and anything yet with stop motion wise.
Right. Yeah, I'm on your channel right now. Checking out your like action figures. I checked your channel earlier and I saw that you had a lot of action figures, but I didn't see this Batman It teaser until just now. And yeah, these figures are super cool.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
they're.
I love the Pennywise with like the open mouth, you know, with the extra teeth and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and like Nightwing with his like putting his bar up to it,
Mm-hmm.
like his I guess what would you call them, like his ninja sticks or whatever. Um, yeah, this is a tight concept. I love I love the idea behind this.
Yeah, thank you. That actually leads into a question I had here, where it was hold on, let me see if I can find it. It was essentially the question was, what made you want to make stop motions with Legos instead of like action figures?
Um, yeah, well, I started out with action figures, and I quickly kind of realized that they just weren't very posable. You know, like you'd think they'd be. I mean, maybe I just had the wrong ones, but and I had a few ones that were very posable. Like I had the Spider-Man that had like lots of different points of articulation, but they just kind of like seemed like janky to me at the time. Like I now that I'm more experienced, I could probably get more out of them. But I didn't like love the way it was looking, because also like you have to like build like these like very large sets, you know, out of material. Like you'd have to like go to like you know, Hobby Lobby or some kind of craft store and buy like really expensive materials and like build like these huge sets, because the figures themselves are like 12 inches or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or 10 inches or whatever. Um, and yeah, getting like consistency between all the figures, and yeah, it just became like obvious to me like really quickly that Legos were just a much better medium, since everything's so like uniform, and you could build the sets, and everything was plastic and like the same type of plastic, and I just like kind of gravitated towards that look. Um, and just like, you know, how like you can move them and they don't really wear out. That's the other thing. Like a lot of figures, like if you don't rig them up for stop motion, they're gonna wear out. The joints are not gonna hold anymore after, you know, extended use.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I kind of just gravitated towards Lego just out of necessity, and then like as I started making more stuff and posting them online, I kind of found out about this whole community of people who have been doing this for a long time, and started watching a lot of other people's Lego videos and got like doubly inspired. And because I was already inspired to make films and shoot stop motion from Robot Chicken and stuff, but then I found the whole brick filming community, and you know, Zach and Sean and everybody, and I was just like so enamored, and like wanted to get better, and be at the level that those people were at.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I had an interview the other day with a guy named Rageful Studios, which that's actually who asked the question, and we talked about how like there's so many people that are like in the community, in the stop motion community, that like a lot of people look up to and want to get to that point, but you know it's kind of like a slow kind of burn, you know, to get there. You know, like it takes a lot of time and patience to get where you want to get to, especially with stop motion animation. You know what I mean?
Sorry.
No, oh no, bless you. Uh, but you know, I feel like with stop motion animation, not a lot of people give a lot of credit to, because it just takes so much time, and you know, I feel like I give you and whoever you know, people that you work with, like with Sean and um, you know, you two make a great team together, and I think you two make some great stuff. And I know that, you know, making one video takes so much time to make, and I can just like I can admire that and appreciate that, just like how much effort you guys put into just a video that might be like 6 minutes long.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. 6 minutes in this business is like an eternity. Yeah. um, yeah. It's just one of those things of like not really like compromising in any kind of aspect. Making sure that every aspect of the production is excellent and is the best job you possibly can do. You know, not rushing through things. I mean, you know, because like you can be really inspired and, you know, write a really great script and just want to make it really fast and get it online and let people see it. But if you're doing that, if you're rushing through any aspect of it, it's gonna show, and it's gonna show forever. I mean, it's gonna be on YouTube, you know, hopefully forever.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, once it's on there, it's like it's locked. You can't change anything, you know. But until that point, you know, that you can continue to improve and continue to make things better, and notice all the little flaws and kind of attack those flaws viciously, and until there are no flaws left. So yeah, that's kind of like been my progression. Is just like problem solving, and you know, when I first started, you know, there's just a myriad of problems that plagued my videos, that I was just like, you know, I remember the first one was like, how do I get these fucking Lego characters in focus. You know, like I can't see them, like they're blurry. Why are they blurry?
Mm-hmm.
And once I figure out how to get them in focus, you know, I would want them to do like fight scenes and stuff, and I didn't know how to do that, and they would just roll around on the floor like, and eventually I kind of like learned how to like make a character like throw a punch and like how to make another character react to that punch, and so it's been a definitely like a slow progression over time, but over this past 10 years. But I've gotten to a point to where I'm really happy with my videos, and I don't really see like flaws in them anymore necessarily. At least the Lego videos, you know. Live action is a whole other story.
Mm-hmm.
The Lego videos, everything's so controlled, everything's so calculated, and if you screw up, you can always go back and do it again. That it's not the same with live action. So in a way, stop motion is a lot easier than live action, because you can just hone it and kind of sharpen it to a point. Whereas with live action, you know, a lot of times you have one day to shoot something and you get what you get, and that's what you have for the production. So yeah, it definitely takes a lot more time, but I would say it's a lot easier in a lot of ways, especially if you're experienced like me. Like, you know, when you have all the answers to all the problems that were plaguing your production in the past, like it's just kind of like very standard work, and there's no real challenge to a lot of it anymore. The real challenge that I found recently with the animated productions is just making it funny, writing, you know, like writing a good story, making it funny, kind of like timing, you know, making it relevant, making it a nice experience. Basically, I just want people to enjoy it as much as possible. So that's always kind of going to be a challenge, and that's always going to be interesting. But the actual production of something is kind of just a breeze. You just have to kind of be able to sit down and do the work, because it will take, you know, a 6-minute video will take like 6 months to make. So you're gonna have to. That is if it's just me. You know, if I work with other people like Sean, or even if I work with like Sean and Zach at the same time, or you know, the bigger the team, the quicker exponentially it becomes. It's like, you know, multiplication tables. It's like it just builds on itself. You know, the speed at which we can do something is just so incredibly fast if we have a large team. Like we did the whole it was Paul doing VFX, and then Sean animating, and Zach animating, and then me like setting up shots, directing, and doing VFX and editing and stuff. So the four of us, we were able to do the Lego epic rap battle of history, Zeus versus Thor, in under a month, and that was like a 3-minute video, and you know, with lots of sets, lots of different switch ups and changes, animation the entire time, but we were able to build everything, shoot everything, edit everything in less than 30 days, which was really killer and excellent. And that kind of just gives you like an idea of how quick it can be when people, you know, when really talented people all get together and make something happen.
Right. And I think that's like my opinion. Like, I remember when that video came out, and I remember just like being like, I didn't know it took you obviously I didn't know, but I didn't know that, you know, it took you that short amount of time to just make that video, and it definitely paid off.
Right.
Yeah, so like you said, when a group of people that are talented and have you know, have ambition and have passion, you know, they can get together and make something great. And that's
totally. And Zach and I and Paul, we all get together so well. You know, like we all, like you said, we all have that passion. We all have that drive. We're all there for the same thing. I think that's really important, and I think you'll find that in film school as well. Like, I mean, when and other people will too. Like when you go to film school, I've never been personally, but what I've noticed is the biggest draw to film school is just meeting the people, the connections. Because you can pretty much learn anything online about the technical stuff, but like you can't like learn like people. You can't learn connections and making finding that passion that's in you, like in other people, is one of the most rewarding experiences of this whole career.
Yeah, and I think just working with people, and that's true, and it's definitely true. Like, I've met so many great people, like and worked with a lot of great people over like the past 3 going out 4 years going to school, and like there's just so many different people who have different visions and different ideas, and that's what I love about just that's what I just love about film in general. It's just it's just you can meet so many different people but have like the same passion as you, and that's I
Right.
mean like yeah, that's what I really just love about it.
It's great to, like, you can find people who maybe are strong in an area that you're weak, and
Right.
you can learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's kind of a big part of why my animation got better is because of Sean. Like I met Sean, and he kind of like didn't necessarily teach me how to animate better, but I just watched him animate. I watched how he did stuff, and I would ask him questions and stuff, and the animation always kind of seemed to come naturally to Sean. Like the animation was kind of always hard for me, and I was something I always dreaded, whereas he really like the animation was the thing for him. Like he liked animating. He didn't really like the technical stuff as much. Like his camera was like shit for so long. I actually ended up buying him a camera like a year after we first met or something, because I was like, dude, you need a DSLR. Like the quality, you need to have good quality for your films.
Right.
Animation is amazing though. Um, but yeah, I've always I was always more into like setting up the shots and like the lighting and like the story and like the voice acting, and the animation always kind of came last for me for a long time. And then I started working with Sean a lot more, and I had to up my game to match him. And now I'm actually really happy with like where my animation skills are. And I think a big part of my channel's success, continued success, is just like merging so many different elements together, and making sure each one is just as good, just as strong as the last. I think that's a good thing in any film, like, because if a film's really good but like the music sucks, like you're gonna notice, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Or if the film's really good but like the lighting sucks, you're gonna notice,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like if you want your film to be excellent, it really has to be kind of level in all areas. Like I'd rather a film have like a 7 out of 10 across the board, lighting, acting, music, than like everything to be a 10 and then like one of those things is like a 1. you
Mm-hmm.
know I think it's better to have just a level film across the board.
Yeah.
If
And
that makes sense, I don't know. Hopefully that you can understand what I'm trying to say.
no, yeah, I do, I definitely do. I actually like when making a short film. I actually I we had to work with a lot of equipment, and I know what you mean when it comes to making a film or just making a stop motion,
Right.
and like everything has to be essentially perfect because
Right.
the lighting is so integral to a film. Like everything has to, when it comes to the light source and making sure everything is in center. Like there was a whole section I remember reading one of my books talking about lighting and how important it is, and talking about how each um, no matter where you have your lighting, it speaks volumes. It tells a story on its own.
Right.
Yeah. So, and actually, that is a question also by Rageful Studios. He's asked like, do you have any tips on lighting?
Oh man. I guess just have a lot of lights. It depends on the scene you're trying to shoot. Like if you're shooting like an outside scene, like the one I'm shooting now, I find those like a little bit more difficult to light, because I don't want to have all my light come from like one source, like how it would be like in real life, like all the lighting comes from the sun, but when I do stop motion, that's kind of difficult to emulate. I have like one really big light that I kind of hang over the set, and then I have like these two really powerful LED panel lights, that I'm kind of putting on either side of the set, just because I don't want it to create these like long big shadows everywhere. I kind of just want an even lighting, and kind of just like, I don't know. It depends on like you said, like the scene you're trying to shoot, the emotion you're trying to convey. Um, but generally, I don't really just want the lighting to call too much attention to itself. I just want it to be good, and I want everything to be clear,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to be like overly dramatic. I think with the Batman video, I did recently, the Lego Batman Rises, I was definitely trying to be a little bit more dramatic with my lighting, like kind of underlighting things, or just backlighting characters, making things kind of darker and more intense. um, because I kind of wanted that like Batman aesthetic. But I think generally speaking, I just kind of like to light things pretty evenly and just like bright, um, but not overexposed. Obviously, that's something that a lot of amateurs will do is like overexpose their shots, and you can always tell when that happens. But a lot of times people don't even know they're doing it, and you kind of have to explain to people like that's overexposed, like that isn't overexposed, or that's underexposed. So you kind of have to get that natural sense of like what that means and what that looks like. Um, but I would say, yeah, in general, uh, yeah, it's good to have more lights than less lights. In my experience, and getting really bright lights, because most cameras, I mean, all cameras, like the more light you have, the better image you're going to be able to pick up. That's why, when you take a camera outside and shoot, the quality is, there's no grain, because the sun is so bright.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas because a camera inside, you're going to see more pixels, you're going to see more grain, because the aperture is open wider to let more light in. So you want to get the aperture as small as possible. In general. So yeah, I really try to blast my sets with as much light as I can get away with without it looking ridiculous. To really like give the camera a lot of juice, a lot of information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's great advice. I actually, that's really helpful for me too, because I only have like about 2 to 3 lights, at the moment. But I usually, if I'm filming something that's supposed to be more darker or something a little bit more light, I'm like, okay, I'll angle it this light here and turn this light off, or I'll have this light here and have this light more up above, or like I try to have some more like make it as dynamic as I can, or try to make it to where the lighting is like you said, not where it's like taken away from the film, or like where it's as noticeable,
Right.
where it's something where it's something that it can benefit your film and help the film like stand out, and like make it like enhance the story or enhance the animation. But I try to work with what I have, and I tell people that all the time. Like there's some people who some a little bit fans of mine that ask me, like what do I do, and I just say just work with what you have. If you have one light or 2 lights, try to get as many lights as you can, and just work with what you have. Not everybody can. I mean, like not everybody can afford what I have or maybe what you have. But like I just feel like that's what I so like about the community too. It's just everybody does animation differently, and it can really like you know there's a lot of different people who can make the same thing but shoot it differently.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I that's so true. Yeah. You give 10 different uh, animators the same script, they're going to shoot it completely differently. Um, yeah, and I would say, yeah, like lights are cheaper than ever. I mean, like really, like I only have like 3 professional quote unquote like studios like lights that are made for filmmaking. All my other lights are just LEDs that I like purchased at Target or like IKEA.
mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, LEDs are super bright and they don't get hot. I used to, only really use bulbs, and now I think pretty much all my lights are LEDs. I don't think I don't use bulbs anymore. Um, yeah, and then also like bounces are really important. Like setting up. I've learned about this, in the past few years, is like putting up like a white card, in front of your character, just off screen, just next to the lens or behind the camera or whatever, and then hitting a light onto that bounce onto that white card will reflect a really soft, but still bright light onto your subject.
Mm-hmm.
So but you're not hitting them directly with a harsh LED. So I think that's really important too. Is like if you're using LEDs, you got to find ways to kind of like soften that light up a bit, because it will come off as really like a headlight or like something really bright, like a it'll look like a sports game or something. You know what I mean? So you want to find ways to kind of manipulate the light and bounce it around the set in interesting ways. And another thing you can do is like put like paper towels or toilet paper or something to diffuse your lights like over the LED, like tape it to the LED, so it's just kind of softening up that light and just making it more atmospheric and less harsh.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely when it comes to that kind of thing, I just try my best to when I'm sorry, I'm trying to find my right words to say. Um, so when it comes to lighting, also I try not to. I know sometimes I'm not the best with it, and it's something that's like one of my weak points, and I know it's a lot of something that some animators don't really think about. But like you mentioned, you said it best. Like you know, lighting is integral. You know, so uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and
It's important, kind of like with audio. Like if you have bad audio, like it's gonna stand out right away.
oh yeah.
With acting, or other things, other aspects, or like comedy, or I guess comedy, but kind of like just I think other aspects of the production, it takes a while for you to, like, decide, like, is this good or not. But with audio and lighting, you're gonna kind of know right away if that's bad, and you're gonna click off the video if that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'd say I generally don't have a method to lighting my scenes more than just like I turn on the camera, I set up the lights, I turn them on. It's gonna look bad, like the image that you have is gonna look bad, and you kind of just tinker with it and tinker with it until it's at a place where you're happy with it, where it's acceptable, because you can tinker with it all day, um, but you kind of got to have a standard for yourself and your videos and your content, and once I get to that place where it looks acceptable, I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe I can do a few more things to make it even better. But oftentimes if I do that, I'll end up making it look worse.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets to a spot where I'm like, okay, this is good. This doesn't jump out to me as looking bad anymore, and then I'll start animating. um, but yeah, lighting's always a tricky thing. I think because there's not. I mean, for me, I know there's like rules and stuff that they teach you in film school, and like about how to do it exactly. But for me, it's more just like a feeling, kind of like music.
Mm-hmm.
You can teach musical theory, and you can teach the like when to hit which note and why and stuff. But like really, you kind of have to also like vibe with it and feel. I hate that word, vibe, but like you kind of have to like feel it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a big part of just art in general. Is like, does this elicit a good emotional response from you? Um, Another thing about lighting, I just mentioned real quick, is color. Unless you're shooting a black and white film, which has its own, you know, whole other situation to talk about. But with color, you know, you have to use colors that contrast with each other well. I noticed in your profile picture on your channel, you're hit with it from the front with this like really nice blue light,
Mm-hmm.
and then behind you is this kind of like this like blurred out background, this kind of like bokeh-ish like background that's very orange. So that makes you, and then you've got this really nice like orange like backlight across the side of your face and on your glasses, and it just looks really good because like orange and blue are on opposite sides of the color spectrum, and they contrast each other really well. And when you put them together, it just looks nice.
Yeah, yeah. One of my friends actually shot that. He's a really great photographer. He actually, I was asking him, I just need we were doing a photo shoot, and we were also shooting a short film at the time as well. And he was shooting some stuff for the short film, and I was like, hey, do you think you can give me a profile picture? So, because that's the story behind that. Is just he's like, hey, yeah, man, I'll just do something for you. So, um,
You got to use that one on your file.
yeah.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'll let him know because actually funny thing, I told him I was interviewing you. He's actually a fan, so I'll let him know that you admire his work, that you liked his work. So he'll be pretty
Yeah,
happy about that.
yeah. I was just looking at it just right now, and we were talking about lighting, and I thought I'd use it as a good example. But like, yeah, you see the red and blue effect in pretty much everything. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
red and blue is probably the most common use of it. Um, in this case, it's kind of a blue and orange, but the same the same type of thing, like the Batman Dark Knight poster is like, it's all blue, and then there's like this really bright red fiery bat symbol. So yeah, the contrast is just so important with color and like what you want to pop out. I mean, because if you're like right now, I'm shooting a bunch of like military guys, and like they're all wearing desert camo because it's a desert scene. So like nothing really stands out. All their equipment, that they're all tan, desert's tan, and that's because they want to blend in because they're the military. But then I have this like giant alien popping up, and it's bright pink. So it's a really nice contrast that the tan colors and the giant pink alien. He really pops in the image. You know what I mean? It just looks. I'm really happy with it because like I'm compositing him in, and like the shots look okay when I'm doing the masking. But once I actually drop his element into there, the whole shot just looks so much better and so much more like.
So I actually just have a. Actually, that leads me. Like, I just wanted to know that it's actually a question. One of the questions of mine, and is another question sent in by Binks Force as well. He says, "What do you find so intriguing about Batman?"
That's a good question, man. I feel like I could really answer any of these questions. Like I gave you like the short answer or like the longest answer ever. So I'm trying to find like a good like kind of in between middle ground for you for this interview. But yeah, I think one of the things I really like about Batman is that he's like so like emotionally devastated. Like his whole world was taken away from him, like stolen from him. And a lot of people could kind of take that and just like be angry and bitter, and like he is angry and bitter, and that's one of the things that's interesting about his character is like he's got so much rage and so much like hatred and stuff inside of him, and so all these negative emotions, but he actually ends up taking that and turning that into a really positive thing. Like he just like beats the shit out of criminals. There's really nothing more satisfying to me other than like probably like sex or something than like beating the shit out of somebody who like deserves it. Like stopping someone from doing something bad.
Right.
It's just so like awesome to me. And something that I've never gotten into a fight personally, thank God. I don't actually want to do that. But I think it is like really emotionally like cathartic, Batman as a character, because he sees injustice, and he goes out there and stops it physically. There's just something about that is just so, at least to me, and obviously a lot of people, but at least to me, like that's kind of like the appeal is, like I would like to be Batman, in a perfect world. But really, like in the real world, we don't live in Gotham City, you don't walk down the street and like see a mugging like every day, like, you know what I mean? You don't see violence. I mean, unless you live, I'm sure in certain parts of the world you see violence every day, but at least in America where I live, like I don't walk down the street and like I don't live in Gotham City, you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to hear like violence and all this stuff happening constantly. Like if you're really Batman, I think the movie Super does a really good job with this. Have you ever seen Super?
Yes, I've seen Super. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a part where he goes out on patrol and he's like just kind of like walking around his town. There's nothing going on, and he's just like kind of waiting for crime to happen. What you really have to do, and I think some things with Batman do this, where like if he were to be Batman, like the Dark Knight handles this pretty well because like he doesn't really go out on patrol. If you were Batman in real life, you kind of have to like do research and find out like who actually runs drugs and stuff, or like prostitution or whatever, like in your city, and you'd have to like kind of seek them out and go after them. But yeah, like I mean, unless you also were like extremely well trained, then you would just get killed right away because you're just one man, like going up against like the mob. I think the Dark Knight does a really good job of this because like it would take someone who is enormously disciplined and has a great amount of wealth and would be willing to sacrifice everything, the love of their life, they would have to go through some sort of really emotionally jarring experience, like having your parents murdered in front of you as a boy, to want to dedicate that much to this this kind of passion, this kind of idea. And I just think the character of Batman is just so interesting because he does do that, you know, and he does take that step.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then just like the whole lore behind it, I think is really interesting. Like how, like, you know, it's not just him. It's like also like Barbara and like Dick and Alfred, and I think all those characters really resonate with me and just are a big part of my childhood, and like are just like, you know, really good like motivators and like role models. Like I feel like, you know, fictional characters are always going to just be like these perfect role model characters. You know, real people tend to let you down, and tend to just be real people. You know, like you can't look. That's why, like, I always like, I don't know. I'm always like weirded out that people get so into like sports and stuff sometimes, because I think sports are really awesome, but to have like, you know, Wayne Gretzky or whatever be your like role model for life is just like strange, or like a movie star to be your, like, you know, be your role model is kind of like odd, because they're just people and they're imperfect, you know. Whereas a fake character, a fictional character, can be whatever you decide it is in your mind, you know. Everyone's got their own interpretation of Batman, you know. So there's been so many different interpretations throughout the years, but there's also like that interpretation you have in your own head from reading all those different materials, you know.
Right.
I'd say my favorite interpretation is definitely the Kevin Conroy animated series version, but there's also kind of this version that exists in my head that's like kind of an amalgamation of all those different versions that I've seen, you know, from, you know, with Christian Bale's portrayal to Kevin Conroy's and the animated series to you know, Adam West. So it's kind of like, you know, I would love to make a Batman film one day, because I would love to get kind of my version of Batman out in the world, you know. Because, you know, I think a lot of people think like when a Batman movie comes out and like say they're disappointed with it, like recently with the whole Zack Snyder universe, they're like, oh man, you know, I wish that they would just do Batman right, you know. But what does that really mean? You know, doing Batman right just means you want your interpretation of Batman in your head to be portrayed.
Yeah.
And no one's gonna do that except for you. Like the only person who can do that is you. So, you know, pick up a camera and get out there and start working, because you're never going to be fully satisfied with another person's vision.
Yeah, like the thing is with the interpretations, like one of my favorite characters other than Batman is Spider-Man. Spider-Man is like one of my favorite superheroes, and when it also like, and also one of my favorite heroes who I get inspired by is Dick Grayson, like Nightwing, Robin. You know,
right?
You know, I have my interpretations and favorite editions. Like for Spider-Man, it's like from the '90s animated series and Spectacular Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and with, you know, with Nightwing, it's like some stuff from the comics and stuff from the animated series. So it's always different for everybody, like you said. So like the reason why I also making this Batman film is also just because I have this idea of what I feel like Batman is like, and I'm thinking, well, what would Batman do if he was put in this kind of situation where he's going against, you know, a supernatural evil clown? So I thought, you know, this is something I wanted to do. I always want to tell a Batman story. I want to tell a Batman, like a Bat family story, you know, with Nightwing and Red Hood and Tim Drake and, you know, Alfred, and you know, I think, you know, like if you truly want to get your quote unquote version out there, then like you said, just like write something, you know, pick up a camera, you know, go ahead and do it. You know, there's really nothing stopping you. And
yeah, especially today. Yeah, there's so much great technology and resources out there. I mean, it just seems kind of commonplace, but it really isn't, because if you think about 20 years ago, none of this stuff was available to us, and to make a film, you'd have to have a large amount of money. And it's really great that like we like normal people, you know, just have so much access to. I mean, there's a camera, and like you said, you shoot your stuff on your phone because like that's what you have access to, and it's a good camera. You know, iPhones have really good cameras these days.
Right.
Obviously, you can upgrade and stuff to like bigger and better things, but yeah, the main thing's always going to be the the story and the characters. I think character is the paramount thing in filmmaking is relationships and characters. So if you can start with those things and expand out and get better and improve, then you're in a good spot.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like with storytelling, because I love to write, and I what I like about storytelling is being able to feel like you have some form of creative freedom, and you know, you can write your characters the way you want to. You can, and especially if you're making an adaptation of a character, of already existing character, you know, you can do anything you want with it. And that's something that what I like about your Batman series essentially is you kind of take this comedic route with this dark and gritty character, and
Yeah.
you know, like you know, like you like in your Lego Justice League video, like you made the joke about, you know, Joker making a truck, you know, a yellow truck, which is Green Lantern's weakness, and kryptonite, like a whole chunk of kryptonite, and also having Batman's dead parents on top of it, which you'll have flashbacks within at least 5 minutes, like stuff like that,
Yeah.
like, um, you know, essentially you took a character and flipped it on over its head and made it work, and um, that's essentially what I like. What I hope to do is when writing a story with the already existing characters, you know, like with something I can make like an Avengers video, something like, you know, with Batman, you know, I want to make a scene where these characters are familiar to people, like, you know, there's like, oh, this is something I've seen before, but you want to add something else to make it where it's like, this is how I feel like this character should be portrayed, or how I feel like this is like my version of the character.
Right. Yeah. I think that's something I've always wanted to do as well, is like create that version of Batman, like the real version.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always gravitated towards like the comedy. The comedy comes so much easier to me because like I know the lore so well. I know what my ideal Batman would be, but I can't achieve it with the means I have right now. You know, if I wanted to write the perfect Batman script, um, you know, not to like pat myself on the back or anything, but I probably could, you know, if I worked at it, you know, at least in my mind, it would be perfect, you know, like that. This is what I want to say with Batman. Here it is, you know. But could I produce it? No, no way in hell. It would cost $250 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I write the comedy scripts because I know I can produce those in Lego, and they'd be entertaining and funny that way. You know, I could write a really amazing dope Batman script that is an actual take on the character. And if I produced it in Lego, if I made a quote unquote serious Lego video, it just that wouldn't come across. It just wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it would be like, you know, it might be enjoyable, it might be watchable, but it wouldn't have the actual impact that I would want it to have. So it would just be kind of an exercise in futility. So, you know, eventually one day I would like to write a really cool Batman script just for the fuck of it, you know, just because. And then maybe I don't know who I'd show it to, but really kind of my thing right now is my plan for the future kind of is to write an actual good film script and an original script, you know, not based around any kind of existing IP, and shop it around to producers and see if anyone would like to pay for it. Because, you know, if I were to write a script I was happy with original characters, which I think would be a lot harder than writing a Batman script, but if I could do that, then and I produced it, I think it would be a good movie. And if I were to if that movie were to be well, you know, accepted and appreciated like my channel has been so far, and it has the potential to become a financial success. And if it is a financial success, then, you know, then my next movie could be a way bigger budget, right?
Right.
And that's kind of like the trick, is to just kind of build yourself up, bigger budgets, bigger concepts, bigger ideas, until you're in a position to direct the next Batman film, which is ultimately the goal for my life. Is to make a Batman film, but it doesn't happen overnight. It has to. It's a long process, and there's no guarantees. There's no like school you can go to where like director school. Like learn to become a director. Like, all right, now I've got my PhD in directing. Now I can go direct my Batman film. Here's $300 million. Like this is not how it works. So I'm just here to kind of have fun with it, and like I don't expect in my career I'll ever direct a Batman film, but I would like to get to that point to where like I might be on a short list or considered to.
Yeah. Same thing here. Same here with me. I would love to direct a film. Like I've directed a couple of stuff for school, and I would like. I hopefully I can show you some of the stuff I worked on, and at least for cinematography wise. And I've directed a little bit, but most of the stuff I did was for cinematography. And I would love to work in the film industry, in some shape or form, but
Oh
mostly,
yeah.
is to be behind the camera and to work with with a director who somebody I can talk to and compromise and make shots and make their vision come to life. And I mean, I'm like shit, like I essentially I love making a vision come to life, essentially, whether that's somebody I worked with who made like a drama short film. And
Right.
and I wanted to get a lot of different shots. I told them, hey, we should do this with the lighting, or we should do this with the set, or somebody should sit here and sit there, and we could get a really cool shot here and there. And
Right.
and we mentioned earlier with music, I shot some music videos a while back, and like shooting a music video is a different whole nother animal too. Um, but like I'm just like you. I'm passionate about the whole thing, and you know, I love to work with people, and I like to work with people who are just have the same kind of ideas, and yeah. So I mean, that's essentially what I love to do, and I hope I can do that one day, and I hope the same for you. I hope you can hope to see your name on a Batman film one day, man. Yeah, because you definitely, I can tell you're passionate and you love the character, and so I can definitely see your name on the Batman film one day.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah, I think you are going to go really far. I mean, if you continue with this passion, if you don't give up, then you will continue to learn, and you will continue to. I mean, just talking to you for this short amount of time, I can tell that you're a smart guy, that you think about a lot of stuff, and that's going to translate into a professional career. I mean, there's so many people who want to do films, who are in films, who go to film school, spend tens of thousands of dollars on film school, but they just don't have like that spark, and they don't have the creativity or the imagination that is required to do this. I think you have to have confidence in your own ability, and I think you have that, and I know I have that, and you have to be able to say like, this is good, this is what I want to do, this is my vision. It has to be very clear, and if you have that and you have that passion, then you can go so far. Because yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be negative, but there's just like a lot of people who are in the film industry who are just terrible at their jobs.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
And
yeah, yeah. I was talking
competition
about that
is not
a
that
while ago.
intense. Yeah, so your competition, if you're good, then you're good. If you're bad, you're bad. I mean, it's really that simple. So you just have to focus on being the best version of yourself that you can be. And that's why when I make a film, I really try to just never compromise on any aspect, because it's so important to be the best in order to get ahead. If you're putting out, just stuff that you're kind of happy with, that you kind of like, that's okay, that's passable, that's just good enough. that's not good enough. You really have to take that extra step to make sure that your thing is going to be in that top tier level of quality. I mean, because like, yeah, there's always personal taste. You know what I mean? There's always like like for example, like one person that I really admire is David Firth. He does the salad fingers. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, I love the Salad Fingers series.
And
Yeah.
you love that, and it's like you know that like only he can make stuff like that, so you don't have to worry about him. You're not in competition with him. You know what I mean?
Right.
You kind of have to find your niche. Your thing that you lock into. And like right now, my thing is like comedy Lego videos. So when it comes to comedy Lego videos, like my main competitors are probably like Keshin.
Yeah.
But
Keshin,
I don't even see it as like a competition as much. I mean, I definitely am competitive with Keshin because like he'll post something. At least in the past, I was a lot, and like I know he was with me because we really like inspire each other. It's like a friendly competition. It's a friendly competitiveness because like he'll post something that's like really outstanding, and I'll be like, okay, I can top that, and then I'll post something, and then he'll post something like later that's even better than what I did, and I'm like, god damn it, now I have to make something that's better than that, god damn it. So yeah, it's always kind of like trying to raise the bar with everything that you do and finding out where your competition is and like kind of going after that and saying like, no, actually, like, oh, you've got that hand. It's like playing cards, like you've got that hand, well, I've got this hand, so you've got to kind of be fierce about it. You can't just be like, oh, this is good for now, or like this is like, you can't have that attitude of like, okay, well, I don't want to spend that much time on this, because I've just seen that attitude in people before, and right. I'm like, okay, this person's not really taking this that seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't want to take it. Yeah, it's everything's about balance, and you don't want to take it like too seriously to where like it's not fun anymore. You kind of want to have fun with it, but also understand that it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I tell people when it comes to the stop motion too. Like you gotta, when making a project, no matter what it is, like whether it's a stop motion or a live action film, like you can still have fun with it, but you gotta take it seriously. It's
right.
it's something that a lot of people do take seriously, and trust me, dude, I've met people that are so like serious about it where it's not fun to work with them.
Right.
And like there's some people who don't take it as seriously, and it's just like, then why the fuck are you even here? So
totally.
Yeah.
No, I've definitely met people like that in both those capacities, like you're explaining, and it's not to say those people can never change or get better, but like there is that person that I like to work with that is that perfect balance of fun and seriousness, and I think Sean really fits in that balance for me like really well. I think he's one of the most balanced people I know. Like he just in general, like in life, like he's so chill yet so incredibly talented. He's just someone I see myself collaborating with for like ever. I'm just totally in awe of Sean at multiple points in my life. I've just like been like just shocked by how dope he is. And Keshin is the same way. So yeah, I think, and there's been lots of people who are like that. So it's just about identifying those people and just like sticking to them. Making sure that they continue to want to work with you, and that you're also doing that same thing for other people, like you're saying, like how I've inspired like lots of people to do that kind of stuff, and that just makes me so happy because like I know like what that means to me, so I'm glad I could also contribute to that.
Yeah. And there was actually just when I told like a small amount of people that I was interviewing you, and so many people like told me that oh, you're living a dream almost, like like, and there's so many people that like there's not a lot of people, although my fan base is small. I didn't know that I could be like an inspiration to some people, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm tooting my own horn, but it's just I'm truly grateful that there's so many people that like my content and like the interview stuff, and that really get inspired by what I do, and whether if
right.
it's just it's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling, and I just have like I said, I'm just grateful, and I guess going on to the essentially the last question is what would you like to say to your fans and subscribers and supporters?
Um, that's a good question. What would I like to say? Well, I would say keep subscribed to my channel because I will continue to be making stuff for as long as people will watch it. Um, for as long as I am physically able. I never plan on on leaving YouTube. Like I feel like YouTube's been such a great spot for me since I started. I started when I was like 13, and I've been doing it for over 10 years. And I never, when I was younger, I thought maybe like one day I'd stop doing YouTube and I'd just like direct like Hollywood films and like that'd be it. But really, like I think I just want to like continue building my channel. Like if I could just build my channel until I'm like 90 and then just die, that'd be excellent. Just leave behind this like crazy big channel on YouTube. Because like that's where all my effort's been put into for the past 10 years, and I just want to continue putting my effort into that. If someone offers me along the way to make a movie, like I'll definitely do it. I'll spend their money and make this movie. But then I always want to have like my channel to come back to and like to focus on. So I'm just like really grateful, and yeah, the channel wouldn't be what it is without the people watching. I mean, it would still exist, and I'd still post videos on there and stuff, but it would just be like me, like one viewer. So I'm so glad that like people make it a thing by watching it and by like liking it and commenting and just creating this whole community, this whole like all this love and support. I really feel it all the time, and the more I upload, the more I feel it, and that really in turn inspires me to be more creative. So yeah, I just like to say thanks to everyone for supporting and watching and stuff, and yeah, there's more content on the way soon.
Yeah, so when I was preparing for the interview and getting the questions and everything, I went back and watched all your videos just so I can get prepared for it. And yeah, so I watch from your Lego Batman stuff to your animated stuff, even to like your series on Craig.
Right.
Yeah, so I watched all of them, and I do that for every interview. I watch as many videos as I can so I can get a sense of like, okay, this is what like I watch a lot of people everybody that I've interviewed, I've watched their content, but I try to get a sense of, okay, I want a refresher,
Right.
So rewatching your content, I honestly felt nostalgic, and the sense of nostalgia, and I really can't thank you enough for doing what you're doing, and like you inspired me and so many others, and for just coming on for the interview. It's just been it's a pleasure, and it's great talking with you, and getting to know you for that small little time, and I just can't appreciate it enough. You're making a dream come true for me, like getting to talk to you. Funny.
That's so cool because like this was just so easy for me and so fun for me. So like I'm really glad that I can do that for you and your fan base and your viewers. And yeah, if you ever want me to come on again or anything for any reason to like chat about anything else, like I'm totally down, because yeah, this was like a lot of fun. I just had a great time.
Yeah, thanks, man. I definitely will have you back on the channel. Where my friend and I are having a podcast talking about movies, and I think you'd be great for that if you want to come back on for the podcast sometime.
I totally would, dude. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Awesome. So, everybody, thank you so much for listening and for watching the interview. Everything to Forrestfire's, Patreon, Instagram, YouTube, everything will be in description. Please go support him. He needs it and he deserves it. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram will be in the description as well. And thanks again, Forrest, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Of course, dude. Yeah, and good luck building your channel more. I'm excited to listen to more of your interviews.
All right, thank you. That means a lot, actually. Thank you.
It's gonna be good good like animating like material. Like while I animate, I'll definitely listen to more of this stuff.
Oh, really? Thank you. I appreciate it. Definitely, there's going to be more interviews in the future, and with the interviews, I really like to bring on channels that I think deserve, a platform, so they can, so more people can get to know them, and more people can get to know the person behind the channel, behind the camera, that kind of thing.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's important to have that platform because yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you want to say, but you can't necessarily don't have the platform to say. So yeah, I love interviews like this. They're really important.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot coming from you, man. That really, it really does.
Yeah, I'm excited to link my fans to this one. Hopefully, some people can listen to this and in turn do some animation or something. That'd be cool.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.